The modern Tesla people now are putting Edison down. They're saying he was just an idiot and a hack, and he just stole discoveries from everyone. What do you have to say to that?
Well, Edison worked in his own ways. So Edison was definitely one of the greats. There's no getting around it.
Okay.
It's just total level of productivity, however he went about it. The productivity was there. He invented everything. He literally invented everything. And it never stopped.
Like what? What's everything?
Everything. Well, the phonograph, the movie projector, almost the whole telegraph technology, which was the digital at the time, was all invented by Edison.
So our internet runs now because of Edison.
The first transmission systems, no one had ever built a transmission system. The scientists told them that it could never work. Their equations told them that his parallel transmission system would be impossible.
2 wires.
That you cannot have loads hooked in parallel. They had to be all hooked in series, otherwise they said that you would lose energy as you went down the line, and the light bulbs at the end wouldn't light. It would have to be a 1 over E curve. Well, it is a 1 over E curve, but not nearly as steep as the European scientists, said it's impossible and impossible. It's, impossible. You can't do this. There was no cables or wire or junction boxes or fuses or sockets. He had to invent all that shit. The method of getting the stuff into the ground, shielding the cables, designing circuit breakers, figuring out how to make generators. And Edison cooked. Him and his team, they cooked. He had a lot of good people working with him. That's how Edison made a lot of things happen. And that's a good way to do it. And they were all like family. He wasn't ripping anybody off. These people all lived and sang and drank together in the same building. Tesla was just a whole different animal. And neither of them fared well. They both got burned. Same way. Edison was the first one to lose his company.
Really?
Yeah.
Before Tesla?
Yeah, before Westinghouse or any of them. Edison was the first one to take the bite. They took his company away from him. Then he became embittered and swore he'd never work on electricity again, and he got just into a bunch of screwy mining equipment inventions that never worked.
Really? That's how he went down?
Yeah.
Wow.
Lost everything.
So he was a true American genius, Edison.
Well, the guy was a producer. He was you couldn't slow him down. The guy was just like totally productive. He was always building things.
Always hands-on.
Yeah, there's always something happening. Where Tesla was the in-depth experimenter, focused experimenter. Edison would play around with anything. Edison was a chemist and a telegraph operator.
He started as a chemist.
A telegraph operator on railroad trains as a kid. He became the best telegraph operator in existence. And then he had his chemical laboratory in the caboose where he'd do his experiments. Blew up one day, and that ended his career with the railroad.
Where can people find this awesome information about Edison and Tesla?
There's a lot of biographies on Edison. There's no shortage of those. So Tesla, Prodigal Genius is the standard Tesla biography. And then there's a book called Empires of Light, or Empires of Light. That book is about Westinghouse, Edison, and Tesla, and the whole electrical industry they created and how they all got jammed. That's a good one. That connects all the guys together.
So they tell us Edison and the light bulb. Is that really his greatest achievement?
Well, the movie projector wasn't too bad either. Movies are still around, really. Digital now, but you still see, that's still not gone. He invented that. He invented the movie theater. Edison invented it.
1890s.
I don't remember, but yeah, he invented it. Probably more in the 1900s. He invented the movie theater. He invented the phonograph record.
What did he do with the light bulb exactly? Did he improve it or create it from scratch?
No, he made the first stable light bulb.
How were they not stable before?
They just burn out.
How fast?
Hours.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
And they weren't particularly bright. And these real expensive materials like platinum.
So he reduced the price and increased the longevity of the light bulb.
Yeah, and he raised the impedance. So they operated on low current and high voltage. So he came up with a device that worked on low current and high voltage, which was important.
Why?
Then you don't need big wires.
How big were those wires before?
Well, we're talking about a 10-to-1 reduction in the size of the wire with an Edison lamp compared to a regular piece of hot metal.
So how big would the wire be in the street going to your home?
Well, normally anything that gets bigger around in your arm you have to start paralleling them up. So his voltage is only 100 volts, so the wire made the wires big. But most of the light bulbs only work on 3 volts, and then the wires would be as big around as my car. That would just be completely impractical. And electromotive force will only go a volt a foot, or a foot a volt. So if you have 10 volts, you can only go 10 feet. Yeah, if you go 100 volts, you can go 100 feet, and 1,000 volts, 1,000 feet. So 100 volts really wasn't good for going very far than just like one block in a city. So as soon as you got more feet than volts, then all of a sudden you got to start doubling up on the copper. That's the problem. So the farther you go, then even though the current's the same, the distance determines the diameter of the wire. Then they have to be insulated and shielded. There wasn't any of that technology. Edison had to come up with the coaxial cable and the protective devices, the circuit breakers.